Hello and welcome to the JSA Studio. I am your host, as always, Nathan, and today I'm coming at you with the next video in my Big Ten team by team season in review series. Today we're going to be talking about the Indiana Hoosiers. But before we get into the video itself, it's at this point that I'm going to ask you to like, comment, and subscribe. It would really help out the channel if you did so. And now, with the intro done and out of the way, there's only one thing left to do, and that is to get started by starting with Indiana's season in review. And honestly, there's not a whole lot to review here. This was awesome. I don't have a whole lot to talk about. Coach Sig was the coach of the year, probably, in college football. I don't know if he actually won the award or not. I can't, released off the top of my head, I can't really think of anybody that deserves the award more than him. And I don't remember if in my video where I did all the awards, I did a coach of the year and who I picked. I don't remember. But Coach Cignetti absolutely should have been in that conversation if he didn't win. I mean, there were other choices. Dillingham from Arizona State. Deion Sanders maybe, but he's probably more of a you give him a nomination because he did a really good job this year, more than actually competing for the award. Nevertheless, little detour there apart. This was an excellent season. This was probably the best season of football Indiana has had, certainly while I've been alive. And how far you go back past 1997 when I was born, I don't know. But this was a very, very, very good season by Indiana. You started off the season, of course, by rattling off just W after W in dominating fashion. You beat FIU 7-31. You beat Western Illinois 77-3. You beat UCLA on the road, I might mind you, where a lot of teams really, really struggled making that trip to the West Coast. You did not. You beat UCLA 42-13. You handled Charlotte 14-52. You beat Maryland 28-42. You beat Northwestern 41-24. You beat Nebraska 56-7. You beat Washington, a pretty good Washington team, okay? Like a solid Washington team. 17-31. You destroyed Michigan State 47-10. You beat Michigan at home 15-20, a very, very close game. You lost to Ohio State, very understandable, not the end of the world, the loss to Ohio State. 15-38 probably wasn't that close in reality. And then you follow that up with the next week dropping 66 on Purdue, dunking on your in-state rivals there. Big time season, 11-1 regular season. Of course, you got shellacked by Notre Dame in the playoffs, 17-21. I don't care that you added 2 fourth quarter touchdowns after Notre Dame stopped playing football. That was a shellacking. Anyway, I don't think the 2 losses matter at all. At all, period. This was an excellent, excellent, excellent season. This is not a season Indiana has had while I've been alive. This is absolutely incredible. How long Coach Cignetti is here, I think, is a question, okay? However, Indiana, as a brand, does have some advantages, and we see that in basketball, okay? They do have some advantages in terms of being able to potentially keep someone like Cignetti around longer than most people, okay? Now, I don't want to rain on the parade, so we're not really going to have that conversation here today, but I do think there's a solid chance he'll stick around for a while, okay? If a big-time job opens up, he might take it, but big-time jobs don't open up every year, okay? I thought Florida State might open up. Or not Florida State. I thought Florida might open up, but no, they're going to stick with what's his name and then fire him halfway through this year when they're 4-5 again. So I don't particularly think you've got a whole lot to worry about in terms of him jumping ship because, like, why would he even go to Florida? That's not a lateral move. That's honestly probably a step down. Not necessarily in terms of, like, brand or your ability to win, but just in having to deal with what you would have to deal with at Florida as opposed to Indiana, I would rather, if I was Coach Cignetti, I would rather be at Indiana than I would be at Florida. Because at Florida, you're going to be expected to go 11-1 every year, not just like once in a blue moon. Okay, so that's a whole different conversation. Anyway, moving on here. The grade for the season is an A. The only reason it isn't an A plus is because A pluses are reserved for champions. Okay, that's a national championship. That's a conference championship. Those are the only teams that get A pluses. Okay, this was as good of a season that you could have possibly hoped for, realistically speaking. Now, could you have maybe beaten Ohio State? I mean, probably not, but maybe. If some breaks had gone your way that didn't go your way in that game, then all of a sudden you're 12-0 and you're playing Oregon in the Big Ten championship game, which you probably lose. But at that point, you're hosting a playoff game, which might change the outcome of that game as well. However, all things considered, I am not of the belief that this program is going to fall off anytime soon. However, when we specifically look at next year, I don't know if 11 wins is on the table because it is a more difficult schedule next year than it was this past year. Although it is a manageable schedule, okay? You just have more difficult games. I don't necessarily believe 11 wins should be the standard. However, 8-4 is supremely doable with this schedule. That should be the standard. That should be your B plus, good year. 8-4. 9-3, you start talking about solidly B plus, maybe A minus, depending upon what it looks like. Okay, you open up with Old Dominion, should be a W, but who knows? Okay, Kennesaw State, W. We'll move past that. Indiana State, W. We'll move past that. Home against Illinois. I'll tell you what, we're going to figure some shit out in that game. Because that's a tough game for Illinois. That's a test for Illinois. Okay, and I'm high on Illinois. I really like Illinois. I like that they brought back the quarterback. I like what they did in the portal. I like the coaching. I like a lot of things about Illinois. I like a lot about what Indiana did this offseason as well. However, Indiana did bring in significantly more transfers than Illinois did, because until you can get that recruiting base built up at the high school level and start getting kids that'll be like, oh shit, they're winning over there in Bloomington, I better actually give them the ability to speak to me. Until that starts happening, which is probably another 2 or 3 years away, you're going to live and die by who you get in the transfer portal. Now, all that being said, I do actually think you did a good job in the transfer portal. I like Mendoza, the quarterback transfer. I think that's good. I like Coogan, the center, Pat Coogan, that you brought in as a transfer as well. I like him. I like a couple of the defensive guys that you add. Lewis Moore is a solid player as well. However, this game against Illinois is going to tell us a lot. And right now I'm leaning L for you. I just think Illinois is going to be sneaky good. I think they're a dark horse playoff contender. Not like what you were heading into this season, but looking back and knowing how good the team was, you were a dark horse playoff contender last year. I think if Illinois handles business, even if they don't get some of the upsets on their schedule, they still got a good shot at making the playoffs as like a 10-2 Big Ten team. All things considered, I think they've got a solid chance. Anyway, after that tough game, you go on the road to Iowa. That's another tough game. I am going to classify that as a 50-50 game because it's on the road. If it was at home, maybe it's a lean Indiana. Slightly, though. But on the road, I think that's probably 50-50, especially coming off of a tough game against Illinois. Then you have a bye week, and you go on the road to play Oregon. I don't think you're beating Oregon. I think that's another pretty auto L, okay? So right now, if we give you the 50-50 game against Iowa, you're sitting at 4-2 after the bye week because you're going to lose to Oregon. You then host what I think is going to be a vastly improved Michigan State team. Right now, I would still lean towards you winning that game. Okay. Although I do think it's close. I also think UCLA is going to improve, although I'm not as certain about them as I am Michigan State. So I think they could also improve, but still probably a W. I think Maryland also could improve. I think they're going to live and die by that freshman quarterback that's probably going to start, especially by this point later on in the season. So if he can pan out, maybe they're really good. Maybe they're not. I'm not sure. Probably a W there. You're probably going to lose to Penn State. Probably a W against a Wisconsin team that I have no belief in, and a Purdue team that I also have no belief in. So I think this could be another really, really good year. However, it is a more difficult schedule. I think you're probably the same caliber of team as you were last year, because I think if you play Oregon last year, you lose. I think if you play Penn State last year, you lose. Okay. I think maybe it is perhaps closer than a lot of people would like to admit. But I think you're going to be a similar caliber of team, but you're going to have a worse record. That's effectively what I'm saying. So I think 9-3, 8-4. I mean, 10-2 is also potentially on the table. You could absolutely beat Illinois. I think probably have to be like a shootout or something. But you can beat Illinois. I don't think you're beating Oregon. I don't think you're beating Penn State. But stranger things has happened. In fact, there have been 4, soon to be 5 seasons of Stranger Things. But that's just me, and what do I know? I'm just some asshole on the internet giving you his opinion. So at this point, I'd like to remind you to like the video if you liked it, subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and if you disagree with me at any point, or you just have something to say, go ahead and drop a comment down in the comment section below. And now with the outro done and out of the way, there's only one thing left to say, and that's that I'll see you next time.